Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think the weathermen botched this. They said we were only supposed to get a half-inch of snow, change over to rain, but I'm looking around and I think I'm seeing a little bit of a different story. It took me over an hour to get back from my job to the yard. I'm locking up now. I just have to move a couple of things around for tomorrow because we're supposed to do a regular job tomorrow, but I don't know if we are. Okay guys, so the purpose of this video is not to tell you about a snowstorm that melted basically overnight, well, into the next day, and really didn't amount to much of anything. It was a few inches of snow, and what made it so paralyzing was that sanitation didn't salt, they didn't plow, they weren't ready, and it pretty much paralyzed Staten Island for the most of the rush hour commute and into the next day. Anyhow, so this video, what we're going to discuss is going to be what machine should you buy if you're only going to own one piece of equipment in your company. Now, in a perfect world, you would own multiple machines. But we all know for some, especially for those of you starting out, that may not be an option. So we're going to cover a new machine, the Mecalac, a Bobcat excavator, skid steer loader, and a TLB, a tractor loader backhoe. We'll break them down and see which one is best for your business. Let's get to it. So the first machine we're going to cover is what's called the 2-in-1 machine. It's called a Mecalac. Now, the Mecalac machine is been around, I think, for at least a few years, if not a little longer. And they're starting to really gain some popularity and traction. Now, they're branded as an excavator and a loader in one. Now, just to show you on this conventional excavator, the way they achieved the loader portion of it is they've set up their bucket to strap onto the exchange system like that. They've then put a couple of rollers on the back of the bucket that push against this dozer blade. And what they've done was they reinforced the blade to take all of that pressure. I'm not a big believer in it. I see what they're trying to achieve, and I really like the outside-the-box thinking. I love the creativity, and that machine definitely will have a place and a role in people's companies. I could see it. Now, can it give you the capabilities of a loader? Yes. It can dig like a loader? Probably. But the excavator portion is a little bit tricky, and it's documented in Let's Dig 18's channel by Chris, who, in my opinion, is a very good operator. He's the epitome of what we really are. Now, it was tough for him to get adjusted to that machine. Now, that machine is a little bit funky because it has an extra piston over here that gives you the ability to reach higher, so the loader portion can load a truck. So to me, that's where the drawback is. If you cannot run the excavator on your regular 2 joystick controls like this machine would, then you're kind of losing, to me, in my opinion, the ability of what that machine is supposed to be advertised as. If you make it trickier to operate, where there's a learning curve to it, where you can't get in that machine and just go conventionally, to me, it kind of loses its luster. Now, like I said, does that machine have its place? Yes. Would I love to try one and put it on a job site and give it a trial run? Yes. There's a dealership in Pennsylvania who's been sending me the literature on this machine, and that's why I say it's gaining traction. I see a lot of videos on YouTube about it. It seems like they're starting to push out into the market. And like I said, while excavators are a growing part of our business, and they almost seem to be taking over, a machine like that would seem logical and would seem like the best choice. But to me, it really can't be a conventional excavator because of that extra piston that makes it a little bit trickier to dig. And it really can't be a loader because it can't achieve the lift height of a loader, and it definitely, I don't see any way it could achieve the digging force and strength and speed of a skid steer loader. The big advantage to that is that, yes, it's a 2-in-1, and the other advantage is it swings on a turntable. So as a loader, if you're in bad ground or you can't really turn, you just back up, you spin, and you dump your loader bucket. So to me, that's a huge advantage. So that's why I say that machine definitely has its place. Okay, so I'm not totally sold on the Mecalac machine, and I also checked out the price point of these machines, and I was less than impressed, to say the least. And to be honest with you, it can do multiple things, but does it do anything really that well? That's what a lot of people will tell you. So let's break down an excavator and a skid steer loader and see how they match up. They're two different machines. However, one is a clear-cut winner. Okay, so we're going to check out the 337 excavator loading the dump truck here. Now you could see we're on a very busy street. We have a lot of car traffic, pedestrian traffic, and we have the gas company doing hookups in the street. So we have a lot of activity going on in one particularly small area. Now, the reason why I'm using the excavator over the loader, because the S300 is here, is I would have to drive into the driveway, which is a negative driveway, on a backward angle, take a bucket of dirt, turn, drive up onto the concrete, and load it into the truck. While it may sound like a quicker process because the excavator takes a scoop, has to swing, lift the arm, do everything it has to do, this is actually much faster and much easier than a loader. Okay, so now let's take a look at the step-by-step comparison. The loader has to take a scoop with the bucket. Now it has to drive into the street, or in the previous case, it would have to drive up onto the concrete sidewalk, reach up above the cab into the body of the truck, which would also require you to do multifunction hydraulics because you have to lift and level at the same time. And then you would end up dumping the bucket into the truck as you see here. And it also takes another degree of skill because you have to use a fully loaded bucket to push the stone inside the truck to the other side. So with an excavator, it's just flipping a joystick and you could flip the dirt pretty much wherever you want. So as you can see, the process here is a lot slower. Now for an experienced operator, they can do it in much faster time, but you get my point. Every little second that you have to take counts on a job site. So now let's go back to the excavator. Okay, so you could see firsthand how the excavator has an advantage over the loader when it comes to loading a truck. Now, the only time this advantage really comes into play is when the stockpile is close to the machine. When you have to walk dirt or concrete or you're outloading material long distances or anything further than the excavator's reach, you start to lose that productivity advantage that you have over a loader. So where the excavator truly shines is it's just a dynamic machine. It's easier to operate. It's easier for an inexperienced operator to be efficient on a job site with. It may take longer to do the same task, but you'll still get those tasks done, and you may get them done better than a loader. If you're cutting a lot of dirt out in a large area, you need a loader. The excavator, it'll just take too long to cut that grade. Now we're talking in the 6 to 7 ton excavator range. If you're looking at an excavator smaller than that, it really can't work on its own. And the other thing is you can't expect it to make big cuts in a quick and efficient amount of time. A loader can just do that faster. That's what it's designed to do. A loader can cut grades and move a lot of material from A to B quickly. That's what a loader is designed to do. And you could throw pallet forks on it and you can move pallets of material around. Now, an excavator, by comparison, can dig trenches. It can backfill walls without having to go right up against the wall. You know, if you're backfilling a wall with a loader, you have to get your tires or tracks right against that wall to dump the material over. So if you're backfilling a stacking block wall or a boulder retaining wall, you would probably want to use an excavator because you could just reach out and dump over. Same thing if you're digging a driveway out in bare ground. With a loader, you're going to start to sink, you're going to get stuck, you're going to upset all of that subsoil. Whereas an excavator, you could just reach that arm out, go bang, pull it back to you, and you really don't have to do much movement. You're not really disturbing the subbase. So the other point to the excavator is it can do more work than a loader can on most projects. This is not across the board perfect math here. Every single job and every single contractor is different. You just have to figure out if the advantages and disadvantages work for you. Now, if I was going to own one piece of equipment, it would be an excavator, just because the 337 can almost work on its own. As long as you're not moving large amounts of material on a job site from point A to point B, and that's a far distance, you really don't need a loader. I mean, if you were to dig out a job, right, if you were doing a retaining wall in the backyard, you can dig out the wall, pile all that material in the front, have a loader come. You could rent a loader, take that dirt out of the backyard, outload it, and bring your material in. So maybe in 1 or 2 days on most projects, maybe a small to mid-sized project, you can get away with renting a loader 1 or 2 days, while if this project took weeks, maybe 2 weeks, the excavator could continue to work. So like if you're stacking a boulder retaining wall or you're doing a stacking block wall, you could have the excavator with a thumb just pick up a rock or pick up a block and put it into place. Whereas a loader, you basically are done. You just put the pallet on the ground and now it's up to hand labor to get the job done. So that's where the excavator is more dynamic, in my opinion, for most contractors, is because it could wear many different hats, whereas a loader is a loader. Now, if you're talking about snow removal, an excavator is not even existent in that. So a lot of guys will probably say if they were going to own one machine, then they can't do snow. Well, you could just put a plow on your truck and get away with that as well. I mean, you can get away without having a loader. And to me, the excavator could put on a hydraulic breaker, it could put on an auger, it could put on various attachments, and you could put different size buckets on it to dig trenches. You could get, I think they even make a 48-inch wide bucket for the 337 or a 5 to 6 to 7 ton excavator to, if you got to cut dirt out for a patio. The biggest disadvantage for an excavator is that it cannot walk material around. It's just not designed for that. So that's where the disadvantage comes and the loader advantage comes in. If you're able to back the dump truck up to your site where you're outloading the material, so let's say if you were cutting out a patio or cutting out a big chunk of land, you can use an excavator. If you could get the truck right next to the excavator, you could just go boom, right, and boom, in, and work your way back as you're setting your grades. So if you're in a backyard that you have no access, rent a loader. If you have the access, then again, you don't need a loader. And if you can get a truck back there, you can get the delivery piggyback or forklift back there to deliver your material. So again, the loader is non-existent. But again, it's all contractor and job specific. So if you're wondering why I'm not petitioning you to get a loader and a backhoe attachment like I have, now I like backhoe attachments. I won't say love, but I like them. I still have one. But the reason why I don't recommend it to a newcomer is because the learning curve to get good on it is very high. It's not really smooth, and you can't always get the good angles that you need to dig your trenches. It's pretty one-dimensional because it's just a boom like this, and it can only swing 90 degrees like this. And to me, you can't build a wall with it. You can't do a lot of the tasks an excavator could do with the backhoe. It can't replace it. So that's why I don't say a loader with a backhoe would be your best solution. Okay, so we broke down the newest version of a 2-in-1 machine, the Mecalac. We broke down a skid steer loader on its own and a mini excavator on its own. So now let's cover the original 2-in-1 machine, which would be a tractor loader backhoe. Now, you can get the TLB in many different sizes. Bobcat had a version of them a bunch of years ago. They were basically, I think, Ingersoll Rand or Earth Force machines painted white. You can get a John Deere 110. That's a very popular TLB. Or you can grab a large frame TLB, which would be a full size, which would be like a Case 580 or 590 Super M or whatever models they have now, or a Cat 420, just to give you a few models. So the the benefits of a TLB over any of the three machines we covered is the fact that none of them you can get in the cab, put the machine in drive, and go. They're street legal machines, so you don't need a special truck, you don't need a trailer to haul it around. I don't even think you need a CDL to drive them around. You could just have a regular D license. So that could be a pretty significant factor in purchasing one. Now, the claim to fame of a TLB is that it gives you the function of a high reach loader and it gives you the function of a backhoe. Now, the reason why the backhoe is bad, what the drawbacks of it is that it's very large, it's cumbersome, not maneuverable, it gets stuck, it can't really float in the ground. Pretty much once you take it off road, it gets a little hairy. Okay, these machines are great when it comes to working on paved surfaces. So if you're doing water and sewer hookups in a street, or you're doing a highway, where you're on pretty much asphalt or concrete, or you're on some type of finished surface, these machines are pretty good. Once you get off road, it gets hairy. The first thing is you can't really cut a grade with it efficiently, because in order to break up hard packed ground, you would have to spin around, dig it out with the backhoe end, turn around again, and then scoop it out with the loader end. Now, the trouble with that is that it's a two-step process. It just takes too long to do to be efficient. Now, TLBs, the full-size TLBs, will stick to the full-size TLBs. They're very, very strong. They are much stronger than a mini excavator. That's pretty much it. I mean, they could lift a nice load, but really, it's not worth it. And the thing is, they're not really maneuverable in tight spaces. So when you're trying to maneuver, that big backhoe arm in the back gets in the way. That's always annoying. If you're trying to cut a grade with a backhoe, the thing is rear heavy. That backhoe in the back is heavier than the motor in the front. So if you're trying to cut hard ground, you're going to start rearing the machine back. And also, having the engine in the front makes it harder to see the grade. So you could be cutting blind. Now, some guys, if they're, clever, they'll swing the boom to the side and try to get that weight as close to the center or the front of the machine as possible. The issue with that is that the backhoe arm sticks out past your wheels. So if you're maneuvering in a tight area, you could hit the house or hit a fence or snag a utility pole, not a power line. So it's another thing to keep in mind. And to be quite honest with you, the TLB, it's a good machine, but like I said, it doesn't serve the purposes that we would need. We as contractors would need. It's a nice theory, it's a great premise, but it doesn't work in reality. And the other thing with the backhoe is you get flat tires. You get a nail in your tire, you're done until you could change that tire. And those tires are not cheap. And the other thing I would like to mention is when it comes to snow removal, they're amazing. You can get very nice money for one. You could put a big snow pusher on it. So the drawback of an excavator or skid steer loader is you're a little limited when it comes to snow. You could put a big pusher box on a big loader, but the backhoe you can get more money for. Even though the loaders have 2-speed now, those backhoes are still faster when it comes to plowing snow. So there are advantages to it. There are disadvantages to it. I think the disadvantages outweigh the advantages to it. So that's why I do not recommend you go with a TLB. Guys, I would like to wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas and a very happy and healthy New Year. And thank you to all of you who subscribe. And I always appreciate your comments, likes or dislikes. If you have a difference of opinion with me, or you want to voice your opinion in general, whether you agree or disagree, leave it in the comment section down below. And guys, as always, please be safe, take care, and I will talk to you guys soon.